Hi to everyone out there. Thanks for joining this talk on the VOCE Global Summit 2022. My name is Christoph and I've brought a super important and also interesting topic for you today. We're going to discuss and also see live in action the automated testing of voice assistants under real life circumstances, or as I've called it here on the title, testing voice assistants for typically human behavior. Why is this so important? Well, all your investments in voice assistants are more or less stranded investments if your assistant doesn't work properly. And to deliver a flawless voice assistant, you need to have proper testing and also automation in place. And this is actually what we are doing here at Botium. A few words about me. My name is Christoph Boerner. I'm Senior Director Digital at CYARA since a few months, and I'm also founder and CEO at Botium. To stay in contact with me, you can reach out through our website or you can directly leave me messages on my email inbox. I will try to give my best to answer them as soon as possible. For those who are following the test automation market, you might have heard a few months ago that Botium became part of the amazing CYARA family, and this actually really makes sense for us because with Botium we have built here the leading industry standard for automated testing of conversational AI, meaning that we are empowering clients all around the globe to deliver flawless voice assistants, virtual assistants, and chatbots, and so does CYARA for contact center technologies. Together and by combining our forces, we are really able to deliver here customer smiles at a very high scale. Good, and this brings us already to the art of testing voice assistants, and it really is art. In terms of end-to-end testing for conversational AI, testing voice assistants is really the holy grail because it brings so much challenges. To give you an idea, if we consider a typical assistant, let's say a chatbot with a graphical user interface, then it's pretty easy to restrict all the interactions that can be done by your clients or users through the UI. Simply think about some quick replies or buttons or specific topics your conversational AI, your bot offers to talk about, versus when it comes to voice assistants and using natural language, the number of possible user inputs is usually limitless. To give you a tangible example, if I call the contact center and the virtual agent is picking up the phone, it might ask me, how may I help you today? And then there are absolutely no limits. I could ask, let's say this is the contact center of some financial institute, of a bank. I could ask for banking products or my account, or I could also ask for the weather right now in Vienna, or I could ask why was my dog barking yesterday. So therefore, the inputs here are limitless, and this ends up in theory in test sets that are infinitely large. To not get scared, of course no one is expecting that your banking bot is able to answer questions like why was my dog barking last night, but it should never fail miserably. And failing miserably already means when you are using stuff like default fallback intents all the time. Yeah, so no one wants to hear from a voice assistant something like, sorry, I don't understand. It would be way much better to react here with something that is related to your brand, maybe something smart, something funny, whatever kind of user experience you want to transport here. And apart from this fact that test sets are infinitely large, there are in addition a lot of variables to take into account when it comes to voice assistants. First of all the individual nuances in voices. Yeah? So we have native speakers, we have non-native speakers, you have male voices, female voices, you have the voices of kids, maybe even of children, of elderly people. You have all these dialects and accents out there, so a lot of challenges coming through these nuances. Then another thing to take into consideration is the quality of the hardware you are using. Yeah, so the quality of microphones being built in smartphones, in notebooks, or other devices that are used to communicate with your voice assistant. And then number 3 here on this slide is also a super challenging one. Background noises surrounding the speaker. Yeah, so just think about situations like having music running in the background, or the TV, or I'm cooking and making noise, or kids are screaming, the dog is barking, or I'm in a public place, I'm in a subway and have a lot of surrounding noise. So these are overall the situations that really challenge voice assistants. It's pretty easy to cover the happy paths, so NLU engines out there are usually working great without all these variables taking into account, but as soon as we are simulating this kind of tests, they usually pretty quickly start to fail. Good. To get started with testing for voice assistants, I've composed here a short checklist with important questions that you should ask. Number 1 and 2 are all about the conversation flow. So is my voice assistant following the designed conversation flow? Is the conversation flow working as expected? Number 3 is then already about how does my voice assistant behave under real life conditions? So these are the scenarios we have just talked about on the last slide. Does it handle low audio quality? Does it handle slow network connections? And then here number 6 and 7 are about monitoring your voice assistant. Is it available 24/7? Are there any interruptions in this service? So these are the specifics and the questions you should ask when you are testing and doing quality assurance for your voice assistant. But in general, this is not where you usually start. Usually you start a bit earlier, and this is why I have included also this slide here to explain you a bit what it means to have a solid test concept for a voice assistant, or in more general, a solid test concept for conversational AI in place. Usually we don't start here in the orange funnel end-to-end testing the voice assistant with all these different variations and nuances of voices. Usually we really start with regression testing here in dark red to make sure that our assistant is able to deliver accurate answers quickly. And then the next step is usually about NLP score testing, doing static and dynamic analytics of our training data, and making sure that the language understanding of our assistant is working properly. And when those two stages or test types are passed in our delivery pipeline, then we usually go in the end-to-end testing, meaning then we are doing all these things we have seen on the last two slides, aiming for a great user experience throughout all the preferred channels of our clients, of course. Then test type number 4 here in this test concept is about security testing. So this should be state of the art for every modern application, to be honest. Bottom comes here also with GDPR testing for our European clients to make sure that their assistants are GDPR compliant. And finally, we have also integrated performance testing to see how your voice assistant behaves under heavy load. And the definition of heavy load is here, or really depending on your business requirements. So Botium can create here 100 conversations in parallel with your assistant, 1,000 conversations, 100,000 conversations, whatever you are aiming for and whatever your assistant should be able to handle. And yeah, last test type that is a bit hidden here is the live monitoring, but this can be used, for example, for checking the 24/7 availability, as we had it on the checklist on the last slide. Yeah, at the end of the day, quality assurance for voice assistants, for conversational AI, for chatbots and virtual assistants is about combining all these test types in a comprehensive test automation approach. This will help you to deliver flawless virtual agents, assistants and bots that really deliver customer smiles. Good, and now we're coming back to testing voice assistants in detail. We are going to jump now into a live demo. We will test together the conversation flow of a voice assistant, record some test cases, synthesize these test cases using text-to-speech, and then go into the testing of real-life scenarios, meaning testing under real-life circumstances. I'm not sure if we can try all of this because I think I just have 15 minutes or something left, but definitely we will check or challenge our assistant with some background noise, maybe with artificial breaks. This is something we see a lot in production out there. We will record different voices, accents, maybe simulate also poor connection and low quality voice. And yeah, last sentence here on the slide is super important. Stable response in different circumstances is essential for delivering great customer experience. This is what you really should keep in mind. Good, and then we are coming to the live part. Therefore, I'm jumping into Botium. This is our enterprise product, and as you can see here, I've already created a test project and connected it to my voice assistant. This voice assistant is powered by Google Dialogflow in the background. It's implementing a web interface, meaning that users can go onto a website or mobile site and talk to this assistant text-based, and it's also implementing a voice interface, meaning that through the website or mobile app you can also talk directly to this bot, and it's also deployed on a phone line, meaning that you could also call it through dialing a phone number. Good, and the first thing we want to do is we want to set up a short test to make sure that the conversation flow is correct, and therefore Botium offers us a super easy feature, a live recorder. What happens here is that we are opening a live session to our assistant, and I can now simply talk to it. And when I'm sending there a hi, I'm getting back a hey folks and a welcome intent. I can also ask who are you, and we will get the Botium demo bot and so on, and the who am I intent. And finally, I also want to have a joke, and we are getting back why 6 afraid of 7 because 7, 8, 9 and the joke intent. And the cool thing is I can save this conversation, including the flow now, simply as a new test case. So let's call it conversation flow, save the conversation, and from this second on it's executable, meaning that if I hit the start test session button now, we are able to run these tests, and in a few seconds we should have also results here. This test, by the way, is now for the sake of getting started, pure text-based, because if this text-based test directly against Dialogflow would already fail, then of course also if we transform it to voice, it cannot pass. So it will also immediately fail. And then meanwhile the tests were executed, we have a green result. So this is exactly what we wanted to have. And in the next step, we are going now to make this text-based test a voice-based test, and therefore I'm jumping into our visual test case editor. You see here again the test case that was recorded, including the intents, and as being said, we want to do now the next step and go to end-to-end voice testing, and therefore Botium comes with speech synthesis. So that I can click this transform to voice button here, then choose my desired test case or test set, go for this one here, choose a speech synthesizers profile, choose one out of different languages, and then simply say start transform, and Botium will transform this text-based test into a voice-based one for us. So I can play now the audio files generated. This will be the hi.
Hi.
Next one is the who are you.
Who are you?
And the last one is the tell me a joke.
Tell me a joke.
So, and there we go. There is the voice-based test case that was generated. And if we jump back now to our test project and start the test execution again, we will have the first end-to-end voice test that is running against our voice assistant. And there we go. The conversation flow was already tested in this green, and the voice test is also green. So as expected, this is a typically happy path. We have heard it's super clean voice, no background noise. So actually I would have been super surprised if our voice assistant cannot handle this case. So let's go back and go again a bit deeper. So the next thing I want to do right now is maybe choose a different voice, maybe this time a male speaker, and already add some effects. And this is also built in automatically in Botium. So we'll create another test case here, and maybe one with background noise. And again, I choose my test set to add this test case. Again, a speech synthesized profile, and actually you can see here you can choose then from all kinds of native languages in this profile, and I can choose here from different voices, and maybe this time I go for Brendan because it's a male voice. And actually, I'm using now Azure EN for speech synthesizers. You can connect here everything you want to Botium. This can be Poly, Mary, TTS. This can be IBM's voice services. This can be the voice services of Google, whatever you want to use here. What I'm doing now is, as we want to challenge our voice assistant, we are going to add some effects. And as you can see here, these are the real life scenarios we had before on the slides. There's stuff like killer background noise, high volume background noise, low volume background noise, artificial silence breaks in different variations, making a call sounding like a poor GSM phone call, maximizing, minimizing volumes, converting the audio file that is generated in a low quality 16 kilohertz 16-bit audio files, replacing short sections with silence and so on. So a lot of different variations you can bring in here, and I will start now with low volume background noise to see if our voice assistant can still handle this test case. And again, I simply hit the start transform button, and if they play the audio files now, we should be already able to hear some background noise. So this is the high.
Hi.
Yes, I definitely can hear some low noise background noise. Then we have the who are you?
Who are you?
And finally the tell me a joke.
Tell me a joke.
So I expect that Google Dialogflow in the background still can handle this, but let's see what we get when we execute those tests. So I'm jumping back to my test project and executing the tests, and in a few seconds we will get results again. By the way, in a production usage, you wouldn't always go here and hit the start test session button. In a production usage, all this testing is meant to be integrated in your delivery pipelines, and actually the integration comes out of the box also with Botium. And there we go, tests have been executed, and as we can see, our voice assistant can still handle these conversations even with this background noise. And just to prove, these are the files really with the background noise.
Tell me a joke.
So no problem for our Dialogflow powered voice assistant to handle those. Actually, we are also getting back here voice files from our voice assistant, but we are doing speech to text here to have a nice text-based visual representation on our test results view. So I want to challenge this bot even more, and therefore we are jumping back into our test set, and now we will go for the killer background noise. So again, I'm transforming this test set, relake voice effect killer background noise. So this will be really heavy background noise. I'm again saving it to the same test set we are in. I'm choosing speech profile, going with Brendan again to have a direct comparison of Brendan before with low background noise and now Brendan with heavy or killer background noise, just to see how our voice assistant behaves right now. And now we should have really high volume background noise. So this is the high.
Hi.
Yeah, this is the who are you?
Who are you?
And this is the tell me a joke.
Tell me a joke.
Yeah, so I would be, to be honest, super surprised now if our voice assistant still can handle this scenario, but let's give it a try. We will see it in a few seconds. So once again, we are connecting to our voice assistant. We are starting with the conversation flow test, text-based, to make sure that in general our NLP engine is working, and then we are starting all the end-to-end voice tests, starting with low background noise, and then with our killer background noise. And as we can see, this was too much. I'm just wondering now if it already failed on the first step when saying hi or later. And yeah, as we can see, already in the first conversation step when we were sending hi to our voice assistant, I'm playing it once again.
Hi.
Our voice assistant was not able to handle this one. Yeah, so this was actually expected. I would have been super surprised if it could handle that one. So let's go back once again and try some other effects. Here is our test set. I'm once again using speech synthesizers, and then maybe in the next test case, we will oh, let's use the artificial brakes instead of the silent brakes, because this is really happening a lot in production. And the next step, then we are going to maybe record ourselves for testing instead of using speech synthesis. Again, I'm selecting my test set to include this test also here. Using my speech synthesis profile, I'm once again going, oh no, let's take now maybe a different voice, again a female one. CYARA sounds nice. And now I'm going to inject here some artificial brakes, artificial silences, and maybe let's go for the mid-level one to see how our voice assistant behaves. This is a situation that also happens a lot in production. People are talking to a voice assistant and then there's some break. Maybe because the connection was gone, maybe because people were distracted by something. So really short breaks, half a second or whatever. And in this case, of course, a voice assistant should still be able to handle a conversation. So let's have a look. This is the generated hi.
Hi.
This is, and this really sounds like there was some problem in the connection, yeah, some short interruption. This is the who are you?
Who are you?
And this is the tell me a joke.
Tell me a joke.
Yeah, so let's see if our voice assistant is able to handle this situation. And once again, jumping to my test project and starting the test execution. As already said before, in a production use case, I will trigger these tests all the time through my delivery pipeline. And again, we are having the first results. So conversation flow test is passing. This is great. And yeah, the voice effect artificial brakes is also breaking our voice assistant. I'm again curious, does the hi already break it? Yes, already the hi. Can't be resolved to the welcome intent. So once again, to prove that we are using the right file.
Hi.
So this was already too much for this bot. Yeah, and following this flow, we could now try out also all the other effects. By the way, you might have seen before that apart from the from these effects that Botium has here out of the box, you could also connect here to your own voice effects profile, so you could upload your own effects that are connected to your domain. And yeah, as being said before, you could of course also use your own speech synthesis profiles. So I think I have 2 or 3 minutes left, so I have to be quick now. I want to show you one last thing. Yeah, so apart from using all these synthesized voices, you can also record your own voice, and therefore I'm just jumping into a session with our bot again, meaning once again these live sessions we can open here, and now I'm simply talking to this bot by recording myself. So I can say here, hi, and Botium will use now me, meaning my voice, to talk to this bot. So I can play it, hi, and he gives us back the right answer. Yeah, and now we could simply use all the voices of your team, as being said before, voices of kids, voices of people with different accents, and of course I can also record myself if there is some background noise. Now I could record myself here when I'm in public places. I could record myself and do these artificial breaks. Yeah, so we can try this together and ask, who are you? So I hope our voice assistant is able to handle this one. Let's see. Yes, there we go. So this short break in between 2 words was no problem, but let's try a last one together. And now I will use different volumes. Yeah? So I will use or speak some words pretty loud and then maybe some pretty silent. Tell me a joke. Let's see how it behaves now. And yeah, actually also this was working. So you can see here, you can simulate a lot of different scenarios to challenge here your voice assistants, recording yourself, recording your team, or whomever you want, as mentioned before, and include of course also all these distractions in the background, noises and stuff like that. And finally, as you have seen before, I can of course save this whole thing again as a new test case, and from this moment on I can execute them through my pipeline and have a repeatable and comparable test result. Yeah, And that's it. I think we ran out of time. Thank you for joining this session. I hope you got an idea of all the challenges around testing voice assistants. If there are any questions now, I will try to give my best to answer them.